It was evening at Fort Augustus when a couple spotted something strange cutting silently through the water near the river Taff. At first, it was just a shadow. Then, two massive humps appeared, moving together like one long, living creature. Their hearts raced as the shape glided gracefully, impossibly large, and completely silent. For a moment, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And then, just as suddenly, it disappeared. I'm Uncle Perry. I don't just tell stories. I dig up the fucked up ones most folks are too chicken shit to talk about. And I do it in a cavalier kind of way. From cryptids to government secrets, I chase down the truth behind the legends. Tonight, we're diving into the most unsettling Loch Ness Monster sightings of 2025. Real reports, real witnesses, and real what-the-fuck moments that made people stop and stare a little too long in the water. So, grab an adult beverage, dim the lights, and keep your eyes open, because what comes next, this is going to leave a mark. Let's get it! Fort Augustus sighting. On the evening of March 22nd, 2025, Fort Augustus was doing what Fort Augustus does best. Quiet, cold, and just unsettling enough to make you feel like you're being watched. Around 7 p.m., the light was fading fast. The sky was turning that dirty gray blue that always seems to hang over Loch Ness, like the sky was rolling up its sleeves, getting ready to watch some bullshit go down. A couple visiting from London had stopped near the point where the River Taff feeds directly into the loch, standing on the north bank, taking it all in. Nothing over the top. No expectations. Just another moody Scottish evening. And that's when shit got weird. One of them later said the first thing that caught their attention wasn't something big or obvious. It was a sound. A very quiet splash. Not a jump, not a ripple from the wind. More like something slicing into the water, controlled and deliberate. Like a shadow sinking into the loch, swallowing the water whole. That sound made them look toward the south side of the loch, about 130 to 160 feet away, where the water looked darker than usual, almost jet black in the fading light. That's when they saw it moving. Whatever this fucking thing was, it wasn't floating debris, and it sure as hell wasn't a boat. It was alive. It moved through the water with purpose, slow and steady, cutting a clean path forward. The witness described it as paler than the surrounding water, though in the gloom, they couldn't pin down a color. No green, no brown, just lighter. Different. Wrong. At first, their brain tried to do what everyone's brain does. Rationalize. Maybe it's a seal. Maybe it's an otter. But the longer they watched, the less those explanations made sense. What they were seeing looked like a hump. The classic word everyone rolls their eyes at when Nessie comes up. Like the exposed back of a massive animal. Something big enough that its presence felt heavy even from a distance. Imagine a large seal or walrus swimming, but with its head completely hidden underwater. And this thing moved slow, not drifting, not lazy, slow in a deliberate, almost controlled way, roughly 2 to 3 yards per second. Graceful even. That alone was unsettling as hell. The witness said they couldn't make out fine details because of the darkness, but the surface wasn't smooth. It had texture, subtle rises and dips, not uniform like a log or a piece of debris. Something organic, something alive. And just as they were starting to lean toward, okay, it's just a weird-ass seal, everything changed. They noticed a second mass, trailing behind the first hump, partially hidden in the wake at first, was another shape rising and falling with the movement. Same size, same general shape. Lower in the water, but unmistakably there. From their line of sight, there was about 2 yards between the two humps. That oh shit moment is when the witness said their rational explanation completely fell apart. Seals don't do that. Logs don't do that. And two separate animals moving in perfect sync like that was also very unlikely. The creature continued moving in a roughly east-southeast direction, heading toward the deeper, darker part of the loch. No splashing, no thrashing, just smooth, silent motion. As it went, both humps began to sink lower, like the animal was choosing to disappear rather than being forced under. Within moments, it was gone. No sudden dive, no trace left behind, just empty water. Later, when the couple talked about what they'd seen, a second witness, watching from a slightly different angle, said something that made the whole thing even creepier. From her perspective, it was obvious the two humps weren't separate at all. They were connected. One long body, one creature, moving as a single unit through the loch. That realization smacked hard, because if that's true, then what they saw wasn't just big, it was long. And whatever slipped under the surface that night didn't feel surprised to be seen. It felt like it knew exactly where it was going. And that's the part that sticks with you. Not the size, not the shape, the confidence. Like the creature didn't give a fuck about being seen. Like Fort Augustus wasn't the edge of its territory, but the center. And it had been there for a long time. Dores Beach sighting. On March 5th, 2025, Loch Ness wasted absolutely no time kicking the door open and reminding everyone that whatever lives in those waters doesn't give a fuck about skepticism. This was the first reported sighting of the year, and it happened at Dores Beach, a spot known for calm views, quiet walks, and the occasional feeling that you're being watched by something you can't see. That day, the loch was dead still. No wind, no waves, no boats tearing up the surface. The kind of calm that feels unnatural, like the water itself is holding its breath. A witness standing along the shoreline noticed something dark beneath the surface. Not floating, not drifting, just there. A large mass, clearly defined against the lighter shallows, chilling under the water like it belonged there. At first, it didn't move much, and that's what made it so unsettling as hell. This wasn't debris rolling with the current or a shadow caused by clouds. It had weight, shape, presence. The witness described it as part of a body, but not the whole thing, as if whatever it was couldn't be bothered to fully surface. Just enough to be seen, just enough to say, yeah, I'm still here, now fuck off. The water clarity that day made it worse. With the surface perfectly calm, the outline beneath the water was visible for several minutes, long enough to rule out the quick explanations, long enough to let the imagination run wild, long enough for that creeping realization to set in that this wasn't something small, and it sure as shit wasn't normal. There was no crazy breach, no head popping up and saying, "Hey, what's up?" Just a massive, dark form lurking beneath the surface. Submerged, but obvious, like a body resting just below the skin of the loch. The kind of shit that messes with your head because your brain keeps waiting for it to do something. And it doesn't. It just sits there and fucks with you. The sighting was reported and later reviewed by the Loch Ness Center, who confirmed it was the first official Nessie sighting of 2025. And, according to them, the conditions couldn't have been better. Absolutely no excuses. No environmental bullshit to hide behind. Calm water. Clear visibility. Prime conditions for seeing something fucky. Nagina Esok, the general manager of the Loch Ness Center, even weighed in, saying that while they've had countless observations over the years, this one stood out. Not because it was flashy, but because it was clean, clear, captivating. The kind of sighting that doesn't scream for attention, but quietly sticks in your craw afterward. And that's what makes the Dores Beach sighting so damn freaky. Nessie didn't thrash or perform. It didn't rise up like a movie monster. It just hung out beneath the surface, calm as hell. Like it knew it had nowhere to be and nothing to prove. Like the loch itself was the camouflage. And if that was just part of the body, then what was the rest of it doing down there? Yeah, that's the part you don't want to think too hard about afterward. Urquhard Castle sighting. On March 2nd, 2025, just days before the Dores Beach sighting, something weird as hell went down at the right side of the Urquhard Castle. This one didn't last long, but sometimes the short ones hit the hardest. Annette was there that day, doing what a lot of people do at Loch Ness, watching the water and half expecting nothing to happen, until something did. She had binoculars with her, scanning the way you do when you've got time and curiosity and that nagging feeling that this place doesn't play by the normal rules. Then she saw it. Something dark, gray, moving, not drifting, not bobbing, moving with purpose. Her first thought wasn't log or debris. It was simpler and way more unsettling. It looked alive. That's the word she kept coming back to. Alive. The object wasn't shiny or reflective. It didn't break the surface like a dorsal fin. It held its shape as it moved, cutting through the water in a way that made her body say, "Everybody out! 2 exits, no waiting!" And then the bubbles started. Not that frothy bullshit from wind or passing boats. Air bubbles coming up from the exact spot where the object was moving. Like something below the surface had just exhaled or farted. That's when Annette raised her camera and snapped a pic. 1. She didn't have time for a second, because almost immediately after, the object dunked beneath the surface and vanished. No splash, no crazy dive. It just went under. And that was it. It didn't come back up. Not seconds later. Not minutes later. Nothing. The loch returned to looking like a postcard. Calm, ancient, and quiet as hell, which somehow made it worse. Now, skeptics were really quick to jump on the tree debris angle. Granted, there had been debris near the outflow pipe that week, and sure, Loch Ness is full of shit that can fuck with perspective. But here's the problem with that explanation. Debris doesn't move around like it's thinking. It doesn't create bubbles. And it sure as hell doesn't dive downward like it decided it was done being seen. Annette wasn't screaming monster from the rooftops. She wasn't claiming a head or a neck or some Hollywood horse shit. She just described what she saw. Something dark, moving, alive, and then, poof, it was gone. And sometimes that's more disturbing than a full-blown surface breach, because it suggests control, awareness, like whatever it was realized it had been noticed. Urquhard Castle has seen centuries of war, blood, and history, and maybe that's why sightings there feel heavier. When something goes under near those ruins and doesn't come back up, it leaves you wondering, how many fucking times has that happened before and nobody was watching? Urquhard Castle Sighting 2. On October 28, 2025, in the middle of a normal-ass afternoon at Urquhard Castle, Michonne Milka from Texas got one hell of a surprise. It was around 2:45 p.m., broad daylight, tourists milling around, cameras out, the usual historical ruins and pretty water vibe. Not exactly prime monster o'clock. And that's what makes this one pack a punch. Michonne wasn't even actively hunting Nessie. She was just looking out over the loch when something caught her eye and immediately set off alarm bells. Her first thought wasn't confusion, it was recognition. She later said that when she first saw it, she was like, "Wow, that looks just like the images she saw from the Sightings website." That's a big fucking deal, because your brain doesn't jump to that unless the shape matches something specific. What she saw wasn't a wave. It wasn't a chop. It wasn't the wind doing weird shit on the surface. It looked like a black head, something solid popping up out of the water. Not breaching dramatically, just enough to be seen. Enough to say, yeah, that's not supposed to be there. The water around it reacted differently too. That's another detail people gloss over, but it matters. Michonne described a distinct pattern in the water that didn't match anything else on the loch. Almost like the thing had its own personal wake. Like it displaced water instead of being part of it. From her distance, she estimated that disturbance stretched at least 10 feet long. That's not small. That's not a duck or a floating log fucking with someone. And then, because Loch Ness loves being a dick, it was gone. No slow dive. No resurfacing. No second chance look. One moment it was there, and the next, it wasn't. Like it knew exactly how long to stay on top before slipping back under. That takes years of practice. Giggity. What really fucks with people about this sighting is how clean it was. No chaos, no noise, no lingering movement. Just a head-shaped form, a strange wake, and then nothing. In the middle of the day, at one of the most watched spots on the loch. And that raises an uncomfortable thought. If something can pop up that confidently, that briefly, and vanish without a trace, how often does it do that when nobody's looking? Peter Hoyle sighting. On October 15, 2025, around 1:30 in the afternoon, Peter Hoyle from Moray was looking out over Loch Ness when something weird caught his attention. Broad fucking daylight again. No spooky nighttime excuses. Right in the middle of the loch, he noticed a dark shape sticking out of the water, moving steadily from right to left. No bobbing, not drifting, moving with purpose. Peter said it wasn't tearing across the water like a speedboat, but it was hauling enough ass to make you stop and stare. Fast enough to rule out floating debris, yet slow enough to feel controlled. The shape stayed partially above the surface, just enough to show it wasn't a wave playing tricks. For about 20 to 30 seconds, Peter watched this thing cut across the loch. No splashing, no engine noise, just smooth movement, like something cruising beneath the surface with only part of its body exposed. Long enough to process it. Long enough to realize, yeah, this shouldn't be happening. Then, before it ever reached the shoreline, it vanished. No dramatic dive, no resurfacing, just gone. Like someone flipped a switch and turned it off. That short window is what messes with people. 20 seconds doesn't sound like much, but when you're watching something you can't explain, it feels long as fuck. Long enough to burn the image into your brain. Long enough to second guess yourself for the rest of your life. Peter didn't claim to know what it was. He just knew it wasn't normal. Lochend official sighting. On the morning of August 29, 2025, at around 9:15 a.m., a longtime Lochend resident noticed something that immediately felt wrong as hell. The loch was calm, clear, and quiet. One of those postcard mornings where nothing is supposed to happen. Then, what this person saw wasn't a splash, or a wave, or some dumb tourist mistake. It was an unusual disturbance pattern spreading across the water, like when your mom went skinny dipping in the creek after eating a full Thanksgiving dinner. Not breaking through, not showing itself, just close enough to let you know it was there. And it kept going for nearly 2 full minutes. Here's what makes this one smack you in the ass. This witness had lived by the loch for 30 years. 30! They knew what normal looked like. Boat wakes, seals, debris, wind patterns, all that boring shit. And they straight up said they had never seen anything like this before. The resident pulled out a camera and managed to capture about 2 minutes of footage. No breathtaking reveal, no clear body parts, just the water reacting to something unseen and powerful beneath it. Enough to make your skin crawl. Enough that they sent it, along with their account, to the official Loch Ness Monster sightings register. And here's the kicker. They accepted it. After reviewing the footage and testimony, The Register officially logged this as their third confirmed Nessie sighting of 2025. Calm, clear conditions, credible witness, no bullshit. Whatever was under that water didn't need to surface. It made its point anyway. That alone should scare the absolute shit out of everyone. Quest Festival sighting. During the Loch Ness Center's Quest Festival on May 23, 2025, one tourist accidentally stumbled into something weird as hell. The guy wasn't monster hunting, summoning spirits, or looking for UFOs. He was standing at a high vantage point overlooking Urquhard Bay, enjoying the event, watching boats move through the water just like everyone else. At around 3:40 in the afternoon, a small motorboat entered the bay, kicking up a clean, ordinary wake. That's when the tourist raised his binoculars and saw something long and thin rise straight up in the boat's wake. Not debris, not a bird, not a wave. It popped up, slipped under, then popped up again, and again. For 3 to 5 minutes, this fucker kept surfacing and submerging, almost like it was playing aquatic whack-a-mole, staying just visible enough to mess with anyone watching. The witness managed to catch footage of it, though only a still image has been released publicly for some reason. And yeah, the still isn't definitive proof. It's grainy. It's frustrating. It's exactly the kind of shit Nessie sightings are famous for. But here's the important part. The official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register took it seriously. Out of all the random crap they ignore, this one got their attention. Calm daylight conditions, binocular confirmation, multiple surfacing events, video evidence, even if partially withheld. Adding to the weirdness, the Quest Festival itself used remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and baited camera traps sweeping the loch. During those searches, massive pike were filmed for the first time in Loch Ness. This was potential evidence of a viable food source for the legendary Loch Ness Monster. That doesn't prove Nessie exists, but it sure as hell makes the idea harder to laugh off. This wasn't some drunk tourist seeing shit. This was a clear afternoon, a controlled event, and something that didn't give a damn who was watching. Bob's duck video sighting. On April 12, 2025, Bob was on a quiet, almost boring stretch of Loch Ness, filming a harmless little duck for a music project. No monster hunting, no spooky intentions. Just a dude, a camera, and a duck doing duck shit. Then the water behind it started acting strange. Bob noticed ripples forming along the bank, moving in a way that didn't match the wind or the duck. Curious, he stopped filming the bird and turned the camera back toward the water. That's when he caught what looked like a low, smooth wake sliding just beneath the surface. Not splashing, not drifting, moving. It wasn't exciting. No head popped up. No Hollywood bullshit. Just enough motion to make your stomach tighten. Like something was cruising inches under the water. Close enough to leave a signature, but not close enough to show itself. Could it have been a log caught near the castle outflow? Sure, Bob admits that. But logs don't usually move with purpose, then disappear like someone hit the dive button. And when Bob showed the footage to friends later on, the reaction wasn't laughter. It was silence. Then someone finally asked the question nobody wanted to answer. What the hell was that? Urquhard Castle Sighting 3. In the spring of 2025, Rita was visiting Urquhard Castle from Italy, doing the normal tourist thing, snapping photos and soaking in the view. Then the water below the tower started moving in tight, circular patterns that didn't look natural. She lifted her Nikon lens and fired off 2 quick shots. That's it, 2 photos. In that tiny window, she saw an object rise from the water, then vanish like it was never there. Tree debris was floating nearby, sure, and skeptics jumped on that faster than your sister when she's on a dry spell, 3 drinks deep, and feeling real optimistic. But debris doesn't surface and sink with timing that clean. Rita didn't see a wave, a splash, or drifting junk. She saw something come to the surface, then fuck off just as fast. And the fact she caught it? That's unsettling as hell. By the end of 2025, Loch Ness didn't give us answers. It gave us questions, nerves, and that familiar urge to quickly go to the bathroom. You've heard the reports. Humps sliding through black water. Wakes that don't match boats. Shapes that rise, dip, and fucking vanish. Locals shrugged. Tourists froze. And more than a few people went totally quiet afterward, like they'd seen something that scared the dog shit out of them. And that's the thing. None of this feels loud or flashy. It's slow, calm, too calm. The loch doesn't thrash. It waits. You can call it debris, seals, tricks of light. Fuck. People have been saying that tired shit for decades. But when multiple witnesses in different months and from separate locations all point to the same goddamn pattern, it starts to feel less like confidence and more like behavior. Something moving. Something pacing. So here we are, closing the book on 2025. But Nessie doesn't run on calendars. The water's still cold. The loch is still deep. And somewhere out there, just under the surface, something is still moving. Slow, silent, and close enough that standing on the shore, staring out into the water, you can see it. Do you like weird-ass monsters and government conspiracies? Then tap that like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss out on more of my fucked up commentary. And besides, I really do appreciate it. Did Nessie make several appearances in 2025? Or are folks just seeing logs and debris? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're ready to crank that shit all the way up to 11, that join button's got your name on it. For just $2.99, you can have my back in a huge way. Until next time, y'all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the real beast.